Hey K-popers, and welcome back to Hallyu. I've got a really fun video for you guys today, as I'm going to go through and grade over 100 groups over the course of 2 videos solely based on their fandom name. And if you've watched videos of mine before, you know I'm usually very diplomatic and balanced when I discuss things on this channel, especially in news videos where having both sides of the story is really important, but I'm going to ask you guys to check your bias at the door here and come in with an open mind. That's what I've done, and I'm being brutally honest on my thoughts here. And as much as I try, I'm not an expert in every single fandom. I don't think anyone could be. So if I miss a connection or a meaning in a group's fandom name, let me know down in the comments. A great fandom name, in my opinion, is one that ties in the group's name and the image as well as its fans, and I'll be rewarding groups that do that handsomely. Before we get started, a quick thank you to Hallyu's honorary producers. If you want to be on this list and show off your bias group to everyone watching, you can support my work on Patreon. Patrons also have a say in lots of videos before they're released, so if you want to leave your mark on Hallyu, come join us over on Patreon. Alright, now let's get to the grades. We've got a lot of groups to get through in this first part. We're going to start with 2 AM and 2 PM together. In case you guys don't know, 2 AM and 2 PM are 2 related pre-debut projects from JYP, and together they make one day. There was a lot of potential here, but 2 AM's fandom name is just I Am, and 2 PM's is just Hottest. This feels like a waste to me, and honestly kind of full of themselves to say I am hottest. So I'm giving 2 AM and 2 PM a C-. Next we have 2NE1, whose fandom name is Blackjack. This of course is a reference to the popular card game called Blackjack, where 21 is the highest hand you can get. I think this is a great combination, and I'm going to give 2NE1 an A. Now we have 4Minute, whose fandom name is Fornia. This is a combination of 4Minute and the word mania, which I suppose does convey a kind of fanatical following for the group. That being said, it doesn't really have a nice ring to it, and it's not necessarily unique to their group, so I'm going to give 4Minute a C+. Next up is 9 Muses, whose fandom name is Mine. This name is supposed to represent the closeness between the group and their fans, and it also rhymes with 9 from the group's name. So I'm going to give 9 Muses a B-. We're up to ACE now, whose fandom name is Choice. It's a nice reference to the group and fans choosing each other, and as a fan, calling myself a Choice is pretty decent. However, any group could have used Choice and it's not really standout, so I'm going to give ACE a C+. Next we have Aespa, whose fandom name is Mai. If you've seen this week's news update, you'll know I'm not a fan of this name. Not only is it very generic and honestly rather boring, the meaning given to it is fully driven by the other world that the avatars of the group live in, and I just can't buy into it. I'm giving Aespa a D. And now we're on to After School, whose fandom name is Playboys or Playgirls, depending on if you're a boy or a girl fan. Combined with the group's name, it's easy to think this is implying something pretty naughty, and I feel like this is precisely what you don't want to get out of a fandom name. I'm going to give After School a D. Next up is AOA, whose fandom name is Elvis. This does have some extra meaning in a hidden kind of way, but a good fandom name should be obvious. Elvis is AOA's debut song, and the name also means a loyal and persevering person. Either way, I'm going to give AOA a C. Next is A-Pink, whose fandom name is Pink Panda. This of course references the pink in their name, but since Koreans pronounce F as P, it also has the meaning of pink fan, as in fan of A-Pink. So I'm going to give A-Pink an A. Alright, we're on to April, whose fandom name is Fineapple. Of course, this is a combination of fine, as in good, and apple, which is a shortened form of April in Korean. Of course, since there's no F sound in Korean, it sounds like pineapple, which the group fully embraces. That being said, I told you guys I'm not going to be biased in this, and it is a pretty silly name overall, so I'm going to give April a C. Next we have ASTRO, whose fandom name is Aroha. This is meant as an abbreviation of Astro Hearts Elf fans, which is nice, but it also unfortunately plays into the stereotype of Koreans mixing the L and R sounds in their speech, so I'm going to give ASTRO a C+. Next up is ATEEZ, whose fandom name is ATEEZ. This name is a mashup of ATEEZ and the word destiny, with the meaning that the group and their fans are destined to be together. That's a nice wholesome meaning, but it does suffer from being pretty generic. So I'm giving ATEEZ a B-. That brings us to B1A4, whose fandom name is Bana. This is a combination of Ba, short for B1A4, and Na, which translates to me in Korean, representing the fans. This is a nice unique combination, and I don't mind it. I'm gonna give B1A4 a B. And now we find ourselves at B.A.P, whose fandom name is Baby. And Baby is actually an acronym for Baby Always Behind You, implying fans will be behind them cheering them on. I don't mind the acronym, but Baby really doesn't fit with the style of B.A.P or their comebacks, and it's kind of a basic word to use for a fandom. So I'm going to give B.A.P a C-. Next up is Beast, whose fandom name is Beauty. It's a pretty simple name, but it's neat to see the 2 and EPs carried over from the group's name into the fandom name. So I'm going to give Beast a B-. Next up we have Very Good, whose fandom name is Very Berry. I'm torn on this one. I love the group and it's a fun play on words with their group name, but it almost sounds like a soda flavor, not a fandom name. I'm going to give Very Good a B-. Now we're on to Bestie, whose fandom name is Bestiny. Like ATEEZ, this is a mashup of the group's name and the word destiny. It's still kind of cheesy, but in my view it fits much better with Bestie than ATEEZ. So I'm going to give Bestie a B+. Next up are the Legends Big Bang, whose fandom name is VIP. Even though it's kind of generic, I really like the feel this name gives, and it bodes well with the group's badass high-profile image. It makes you feel cool as a fan to be a VIP. So I'm giving Big Bang an A-. And we've got another YG group up next, Blackpink, whose fandom name is Blink. This one is pretty simple. There's no hidden meaning except for it being short for Blackpink. That being said, it rolls off the tongue really well and it has an elegant simplicity about it which I really enjoy. I'm gonna give Blackpink an A-. Alright, now for Block B, whose fandom name is BBC. Yeah, look, the official explanation is it stands for Block B Club, but I can't be the only one who thinks of something else it could stand for, and I'm not talking about the British Broadcasting Corporation. It's just unfortunate, but I can't look past it. I feel wrong saying this, but I'm gonna give Block B a D. Next up we have Boyfriend, whose fandom name is Best Friend. This is not a bad name on paper, but it has serious friend zone vibes, and when the group's name is Boyfriend, that's a bit of an issue. I'm gonna give Boyfriend a C. We're up to Brown Eyed Girls now, whose fandom name is Everlasting. Fans are also known as For Everlasting, with a kind of convoluted meaning that the 4 girls will unite with their fans and last forever. I'm gonna give Brown Eyed Girls a C. Next up is B2B, whose fandom name is Melody. In case you don't know, the group's name is actually short for Born to Beat, so Melody is needed for the beat like B2B need their fans. It's a nice, if not kinda cheesy connection, but I like it. I'm gonna give B2B a B+. We've gotten to BTS, whose fandom name is ARMY. ARMY is actually an acronym for Adorable Representative MC for Youth, which honestly is pretty long-winded, and like with B.A.P, it really doesn't fit BTS's image, especially their music early on. It does also mean that fans will stand together with the group like an army, but overall the name is still not that great in my opinion. If you needed proof I'm not pandering to fans in this video, look no further because I'm going to give BTS a C-. Next up we have Cherry Bullet, whose fandom name is Lulit. Yes, it's pronounced Lulit, not Lullet, and it's meant to be a short form of Love Cherry Bullet. It's also a crazy acronym for Love Unique Light Laugh Everlasting Treasure, which is supposed to mean fans are unique treasures that make the girls shine and laugh forever. Pretty convoluted if you ask me, and I'm gonna give Cherry Bullet a C. CLC is up next, and their fandom name is Cheshire. I don't see any connections to the group in this name. I get that it's a reference to the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland though, so maybe they're trying to portray a mischievous image? I'm not sure, but I'm gonna give CLC a C-. We're up to CN Blue now, whose fandom name is Boyce. This name is actually a clever wordplay by combining the words blue and voice. And since Korean doesn't have the V sound, voice is actually pronounced like voice anyways, so there's a double meaning here. I'm gonna give CN Blue an A-. Now we've got Gravity, whose fandom name is Lovity. This name was chosen by a fan poll, so I can't hate on it too hard, and it is supposed to mean people who love Gravity. I must say it feels pretty weak though, and I'm gonna give Gravity a C+. Our last C group is Crayon Pop, whose fandom name is Sketchbook. I can't find any clear details about why this name was chosen. Obviously there's a connection to crayons and drawing, but does that also imply that fans are blank pieces of paper? I don't know, but what I do know is I'm giving Crayon Pop a C. Next up is Dal Shabet, whose fandom name is Darling. While this name seems kind of generic on the surface, and it is, it actually does fit well in Korean with the first syllable of darling and Dal Shabet much better than it does in English. Still, it's rather weak, so I'm gonna give Dal Shabet a C+. Now onto the boy group Day 6, whose fandom name is My Day. This is named after a song they released in 2017 of the same name, and it was also chosen because members are saying to fans, "You make my day." That does feel like a bit of a stretch though, as there could have been something more clever with the whole day theme here. So I'm gonna give Day 6 a B-. And now we have the Legends DBSK, whose fandom name is Cassiopeia. Honestly, this is a brilliant subtle meaning, as the group's name, Dongban Shinki, translates to rising gods or stars of the east. Cassiopeia is a star constellation with 5 stars, like the 5 members of DBSK. The only problem here is that Cassiopeia is kind of an awkward name to call a fan. I'm gonna give DBSK an A-. Oh boy, it's time for DIA, whose fandom name is ATEEZ. Do I need to say anything more? Now look, I actually really like DIA as a group, and I love a lot of their songs. Mr. Potter is pretty high up in my all-time song list. And I know AID is DIA backwards, and it's like the fans are aiding the girls, but guys, the fandom is literally called ATEEZ. I'm giving DIA a D-. Moving on, we have Dreamcatcher, whose fandom name is Insomnia. I'm just gonna say this straight away. This fandom name is a multifaceted masterpiece. Firstly, insomnia is a condition where you have trouble sleeping. What helps you sleep soundly? A dreamcatcher. And it gets better, as you can see the name is actually 2 words connected without a space, in insomnia. Somnia is Latin for dreams, so fans will be sharing their dreams with the group. I'm giving Dreamcatcher an S. A+ is not good enough for these girls. Next up we have Elris, whose fandom name is Bulris. This is supposed to be a combination of the words bliss and Elris, since the fans are the group's bliss. Honestly though, this name would have worked way better if the group's romanization was Ellis instead of Elris, as Bulris is just uncomfortable to say. I'm giving Elris a D+. Next we have the girl group Everglow, whose fandom name is Forever. This is a clear reference to the ever part of the group's name, and the meaning is that fans will stick together with girls forever. It's kind of a basic name, but it does have extra meaning thanks to the group's name. I'm gonna give Everglow a B+. We're now up to EXID, whose fandom name is Lego. This is slang for let's go, and is supposedly in reference to helping the group exceed their dreams, since EXID is short for Exceed in Dreaming. This is a tremendous stretch in my opinion though. Nobody sees Lego and thinks Exceed in Dreams. So I'm gonna give EXID a C-. Moving on, we have EXO, whose fandom name is exo-l. The L stands for love, meaning EXO will always love their fans. But the best part of this is that it's also tied in really well with EXO's subunit names, which are EXO-K for the Korean members and EXO-M for the Chinese ones. L slots in perfectly between K and M too. I'm gonna give EXO an A+. Next is FX, whose fandom name is Miyu. Obviously the name refers to me and you together, as the group is united with their fans. But it also continues the mathematical theme of the group's name. In case you're not aware, FX is the typical way you denote a function in math. And when you say me you quickly, it sounds like mu, a Greek letter often used in math and physics as a constant in equations. So I'm going to give FX an A+. We've got Favorite next, whose fandom name is Dear. I can't find any connection here between Dear and the group's name, so let me know if you guys know something that I don't. But on the surface it seems pretty weak and not connected to the group at all, so I'm gonna give Favorite a D. Let's move on to girl group Fiestar, whose fandom name is Let's, with a star between the T and the S. Just like with Favorite, there's no apparent connection that I know of or that I can find anywhere. I get that the word let's implies an activity or a journey together, but like many names, it could apply to any group, not just Fiestar. So I'm gonna give Fiestar a D. Next up is Fromis9, whose fandom name is Flover. This is a combination of Fromis and Clover and is meant as a promise between Fromis9 and fans to spend happy moments together. That's a nice sentiment, but it definitely flows a lot better in Korean than in English. I'm gonna give Fromis9 a B. Boy group FT Island are next on the list, and their fandom name is Prima Donna. So this is named after a track on their debut album, but honestly it really doesn't fit. The word prima donna refers to a young girl singing in an opera, and it just doesn't mesh with K-pop or a rock band or a fandom. I'm gonna give FT Island a D-. Moving on to the letter G, we have G.IDLE, whose fandom name is Neverland. This is a reference to the Peter Pan world where no one gets old, implying that fans and the group will be together forever. The problem is that, like some other names, it could be used by any group, so I'm gonna give G.IDLE a B-. Next up we have GFriend, whose fandom name is Buddy. This fandom name was announced alongside the song My Buddy, and fun fact, I was actually one of around 200 people in attendance in Toronto for their concert where they performed this song for their fans for the first time. All that being said, the word buddy does evoke a weird friend zone vibe, which is not great for a fandom, so I'm gonna give GFriend a C. Girls' Day are up now with their fandom name Daisy. This fandom name was chosen by fans because Daisy means humbleness, beauty, and innocence. However, they made the crucial mistake of including the number 5, which was the number of members at the time, in the name, and we all know how that works out in K-pop. Girls' Day dropped down to 4 members later on, and so this name is now a sad reminder of that departure. I'm gonna give Girls' Day a C. Next up is Girls' Generation, whose fandom name is So-won. Now let me just preface this by saying that I gave my other biased group April a C, so I promise I'm not being blinded by 9 years of fandom here. So, the name is pronounced So-won, signifying the group and the fans being together, with So coming from the group's name, Sonyeoside. It also makes the Korean word So-won, which means wish, and that has ties to the legendary song So-won을 말해봐, or Genie. So I'm gonna give Girls' Generation an A+. Now on to Golden Child, whose fandom name is Goldenness. Other than the obvious golden connection, this fandom name doesn't have much substance beyond sounding like an endearing name. So I'm gonna give Golden Child a C. Boy group GOT7 is next with their fandom name I-Got7. Obviously 7 is a lucky number, and so I-Got7 is akin to you having the members' affection and their luck. Also, the Korean pronunciation sounds like agase, which means little bird, hence their lightstick design. I'm gonna give GOT7 a B. Next up is Gugudan, whose fandom name is Dear Friend. Like GFriend and Boyfriend, this name has a serious feel of friend-zoning their fanbase, which is just awkward. It also kind of feels like what you would write to start a letter, not a fandom name. So I'm gonna give Gugudan a C-. Now we have Hello Venus, whose fandom name is Hello Cupid. Obviously the fandom name takes the word hello from the group, but there's a lot more here. This is also a reference to ancient mythology where Venus and Cupid are both gods and goddesses of love. And Cupid is actually Venus's son, so this implies the closeness the fandom shares with the group. I'm gonna give Hello Venus an A-. Next we have Highlight, the reborn group from Beast, and their fandom name Light. Member Junhyung offered an explanation when they chose the name, saying to fans, quote, "Let's be light with each other." Honestly, that's a weird thing to say, and is rather weak and not representative of a close bond that the group and fans should have. I'm gonna give Highlight a D+. Now on to the YG boy group iKON, whose fandom name is Iconic. This is an obvious reference and usage of the word iconic, but it also is meant as an adjective. So just like the word comic would mean something that has the elements of comedy, the name Iconic describes fans as being part of iKON. I'm gonna give iKON an A-. Up next is IMFACT, whose fandom name is IF. This is composed of the I from IMFACT and the F in fans, so the group and the fans are one. It's a neat idea, but IF still feels like a weird way to identify yourself as a fan. I'm gonna give IMFACT a B-. We're on to Infinite now, whose fandom name is In Spirit. As the name implies, fans will be there with the group in spirit, even when they can't be there in person to support them. It's also similar to the group's name too, of course, both starting with in. I'm gonna give Infinite an A-. Next up we have ITZY, whose fandom name is Midzy. This fandom name has a nice rhyming connection to the group name, but the Korean word also has a second meaning, which is trust. So it's a nice reminder of the trust that the fans and the girls have in each other. I like it, and I'm gonna give ITZY an A-. Onward to IU now, whose fandom name is UNA. This is composed of U, denoted by the letter U, A, the Sino-Korean word for love, and Na, Korean for me. So it forms a meaning across 3 languages of you love me. And if you pronounce it together, it sounds like You and I, which shares the first meaning and is one of IU's legendary songs from early in her career. My only criticism here is that it looks a little odd when you're writing it in English characters, but otherwise it's a great fandom name. I'm going to give IU an A. Next up is IZY, whose fandom name is WEEZY. At first glance, this seems to be the word we combined with IZY, implying fans are together with the group, but it's actually WIZ1 and supposed to be short for wizard, invoking the idea of a magical future. This is a really big stretch and pretty cheesy to me, so I'm going to give IZY a C-. We're up to the K groups now, starting with Kara, whose fandom name is Camellia. This name comes from combining Kara with Familia, implying the group and their fans are one big family. It's rather straightforward, but the combination does flow really well together, so I'm going to give Kara a B+. Co-ed group KARD is next, with their fandom name Hidden Card. Hidden Cards was the pre-debut project leading up to the group, so it holds a special meaning to the members. But it doesn't quite gel as a fandom name in my opinion, and to add to that, there was a lot of potential here with fandom names that relate to playing cards, kings, queens, etc. So I'm going to give KARD a C. Last up in the first part of this series is KNK, whose fandom name is Tinkerbell. So the story goes that member Sungjun picked the name while he was watching the movie Tinkerbell, saying KNK are Peter Pan, and fans are fairies there to protect them. Personally, I think this comes off as super cheesy and silly, especially given the harder image that most of KNK's comebacks have. So I'm going to give KNK a D+. Alright guys, that's it for now. Stay tuned for a part 2 where we'll finish things off from L to Z. What did you think? Was I too harsh on some groups? Was I too nice on some groups? What fandom names do you love and hate? Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss all the great K-pop news and entertainment that's coming to you each and every single week here at Hallyu.